There we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this info session for the West of England Visual Arts Alliance Research and Development Fellowships and Bursaries. It's a bit of a mouthful. I'm Graham Johnson. I'm the online producer at Visual Arts Southwest. Also here today are Patrizia Ribble, who is the WEVAA project manager at Spike Island. And we've got three representatives from Bath Art Depot, who are one of the current R&D fellowships. We're all going to say a bit before we open questions. Patrizia will talk about WEVAA and how these projects sit within WEVAA's aims. I'll talk a bit about how the fellowships and the bursaries work, how to apply, and what some of the projects have been, and hopefully that will very naturally hand over to Bath Art Depot to talk about what they've been up to, and then we'll open questions. When we do come to questions, feel free to type in the chat, or if you could use the hands up function in Zoom, that would be really useful, just so we're not all speaking over each other when we get to that moment. With that, I will stop talking for a moment. Patrizia, if you could introduce WEVAA.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I'm Patrizia Ribble. I'm the project manager for the West of England Visual Arts Alliance. So the West of England Visual Arts Alliance is a consortium of 9 partners that has been funded by the Arts Council England to produce a program over 3 years. And the main goal of this program is artist development. So the Art Council decided to fund this consortium of organizations because there's 9 organizations. Our main objectives is to make the visual arts sector in the West of England more progressive, sustainable, inclusive by 2024. So the Arts Council decided not to fund the organizations as national organizations, but to actually give them money for it to go directly to artists. And in the main 3 key objectives of the program to become, for the visual arts sector to become more progressive, sustainable, and inclusive, lies the word progressive. And in order to foster this progression, 10% of the budget given by the Arts Council England goes into sector building and directly into the research and development opportunities such as the fellowships and the bursaries. So the main core of the program is to offer a range of opportunities for career progression and talent development, hence the fellowships. So the fellowships are aimed to provide artists and independent art workers with time, space, and resources to develop their practice in this post-pandemic world, so that they can contribute to the dynamism of this sector in the West of England themselves. So both it contributes to the career progression of the artists, but it then helps us to develop the sector further as well. So I will leave it as this, I think, because I don't know if you have any questions for now directly on the visual arts of WEVAA, but otherwise I will pass on.
Thank you, Patrizia. That was really useful. So there's 2 opportunities at the moment. There are the Research and Development Fellowships and the Research and Development Bursaries. They've got very similar names and they have in some ways similar goals, but the main difference is the scale and the scope of what you're able to achieve with the opportunities. The fellowships are for £10,000 and to be worked on over 12 months. And the bursaries are of a amount from £500 to £1,000 of your choice. Oh, I do live next to quite a busy road, so apologies for any street noises. As you would imagine, those are for smaller scale projects. And so I will just talk a bit more about the differences in those. Julian, if that's not a question, I'm just going to mute your mic for a second, just so there's no interruptions until we get to the questions. Thank you. So the fellowships are the much more involved opportunity in this research and development strand of WEVAA. That they are for £10,000. You deliver them over the course of a year, and they are primarily for developing the visual arts sector in the region. You will likely be working on a project with outcomes for yourself or for yourself as a partnership. For example, Art Depot, one of the current fellows, as you can see, there's 3 of them here. That's not even all of them. But there will be a wider impact on the visual arts scene in the region. There's an expectation that the research and development that you do over the course of this year, you will be able to share it, you will be able to feed it back into the community, and there will be a legacy to your work. Artists in the region and arts workers will be able to learn from this and develop their own practice from your learning. We have an expectation in the current letters of agreement that there will be some form of sharing, whether that's a talk, a video, an event, of your findings. We've not fully sort of settled on all of those for the current fellows, but that is also there just to remind you that once you've done all of this, you are serving your community as well. We check in with the fellows regularly. This takes place roughly quarterly. This is just to sort of see how everything's going, see what successes and challenges you've had. Different projects work at different speeds. You might be 6 months in and it feels very slow, or you might have run dozens of events because the nature of your projects change. But it's also to listen into whether there's any support that you need from us that you are not getting, because we would prefer to give you a little bit of a helping hand and ensure that your project comes out as good as you can make it, than just leave you in the dust floundering. In contrast, the bursaries, those are for £500 to £1,000, and those, while you may share some of your learning, those are more for your practice, for finding something about your practice. It might be working out how to work with some new materials, it might be exploring digital, it might be paying yourself for some time to think, because we all know that in the visual arts, in arts in general, time to think is very rare. So if you're able to explain to us what that would do for your practice, it is something that would be seriously considered. We've had a wide range of applications for the bursaries. We've had last year that was successful. We had Jonathan Kellam's Super Duper St. Anne's, which some of you might have seen at Bricks in Bristol. Community arts as a football team. We had a few people exploring augmented reality and digital work. We had people exploring new forms of printmaking. There's a lot of different options. The application processes for both the opportunities are very similar. If you go to the Visual Arts Southwest website, both of them are done from the same application form. You tell it which one you want to apply for, takes you through to the appropriate form. We've split it into a series of fairly short questions. We understand that your time is important and that as artists, you're doing these applications all of the time. We're not here to waste like days of your lives on this application for an opportunity you might not get. The fellowships, we will expect to see a budget, and you can download a template for this from the application form. You are welcome to supply a budget for the bursaries. It's not essential for your application, but we will expect to see one before we are able to release the money, just so that we have an understanding of how that money will be spent. You're welcome to submit your application as a video, and there is a space in the form to put a link for that as a private video on YouTube or Vimeo. It could be an audio application on SoundCloud. And if you do not find online forms accessible at all, you will be able to download the questions as a Word document, and you can always just email that in. The fellowships will be assessed by a panel of representatives. There'll be a representative from Visual Arts Southwest, Spike Island, and the Brunswick Club, who are the 3 key delivery partners for WEVAA, and we will have an independent artist on the panel as well. The shortlisted fellowship applicants will have an interview. You will be paid a per diem to prepare for that interview and attend, and we will select 3 fellows out of that. The bursaries are less involved, again, in respect of the smaller amount of money you're getting. We will have a panel, again, with representatives from Visual Arts Southwest, Spike Island, and the Brunswick Club, reading those applications. We'll have a discussion panel and make selections without interview, and let applicants know when we have decided. We have not set a date for these interviews, but we will have that set by the time applications close, and we will contact all applicants to let them know what day they should keep free, just in case. 1 second, apologies.
While Graham has gone to answer the door, I've got to say at the beginning that there's 3 fellowships a year over the 3-year program. So last year we obviously had Bafa Deeper, who you'll be hearing about in a minute, Lucy Bedrock and AIM in Bristol at Spike Island. And we're obviously hoping for the spread to be geographically as wide as possible within the region. So the region of West of England spreads from Western Supermare to South Gloucestershire, Bristol and Bath. So that's the eligibility criteria as well. I'm not sure if Graham will mention that, but we're hoping for there to be a spread of both the bursaries and the fellowships. Close bracket. Graham, you're back.
Yes, I am back. Thank you, Patricia, for covering that time. Yeah, we would absolutely love to see a spread of both disciplines and locations, partly because of where the delivery organisations are based. We do see a lot of applications from Bristol, but West of England Visual Arts Alliance covers Bath and North East Somerset, North Somerset, and South Gloucestershire, and we would really love to see applications from all across the region. This year, the fellowship projects Art in Motion, AIM, as Patricia mentioned, are a charity who work with learning disabled artists, and they have been looking into both research methodologies that their artists can do that work with their practices and are creative, but also mapping the organizations that work with disabled artists and meeting with them, finding out what they do. Lucy Bedrock has been developing the local commissioning program that she runs around Stapleton Road, finding a premises to call a new home, having been based in a school for a long time, which has great advantages and great disadvantages at the same time. And I think I will let Bath Art Depot speak for themselves. I will hand over to Nicola Turner to open, I guess. Thank you.
Hello. I mean, Kelly, do you want to lead this one, or can you?
Yeah, I'm happy to start the conversation. Hi, everyone. It's great to see so many people here. We are Bath Art Depot, which is a community-embedded, community-focused, new contemporary arts center that we're hoping to stand up in Bath. And the site of our ambition is Weston Island, which is down in the western part of the city, away from sort of the cultural center. But what we're hoping to catalyze there, in conjunction with the art school presence at Locksbrook, is a new cultural sort of arts and culture quarter for the city. And the fellowship that we received through WEVAA, which has been amazing, has enabled us to hold a series of public engagement events that have allowed us as a city and as a group, in terms of our own professional development, to learn how these sorts of organizations are stood up in other cities. And they've allowed us to really interact with and listen to the communities that we're hoping to engage. And we started doing these public events in January with a litter pick that wasn't funded. And then we applied for the fellowship, and then our subsequent events have been funded. And so they've really allowed us to buy materials and pay for venues and pay for artists to be involved and have the work documented and pay for our time. And they've just really made all the difference. We would not be able to do what we're doing at this level without this support. And this will take us through the beginning of next year, I'd say. We have several other events planned. We just had one Sunday that was a huge success. Nicola led that one along with Natasha Kidd. And it was, they've all been a tremendous amount of work, and they've all been very different, but they've all drawn some consistent audiences and a lot of new people. And there seems to be some momentum and buzz growing about the project. And that was one of the main objectives for it. So anything else that Simon, Nicola, or Philip, who's also part of our team, want to add to this?
I was just going to, I think that's great, Kelly, but I was just going to say, just for the others in the group, in the meeting that don't know, what we did with our sort of fellowship proposal was we sort of designed 5 chapters, sort of 5 community engagement events. And yeah, we've done 2 of those since we've had the funding from WEVAA. And then,
3.
well, we've done 3, and we've got another one coming next year, and there's another one coming next month. So there's been a slight amount of flexibility in kind of, the timings of things, which has been quite interesting and possibly not quite how we envisaged it all developing, but that's mainly to do with, engaging with sort of third parties and stuff, and time schedules and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's all I was going to say.
And I would also add that WEVA's role has been super supportive, and a little tough love here and there, and holding us accountable for evaluation and things that are really like helping us step change and develop as a group. And so each time we do it, we get a little smarter, and we add another layer to professionalizing our process. And yeah, it's been really, really fruitful and really rich to have these conversations, the debriefs with VASW and WEVAA afterwards. Oh, and one more thing VASW has done for us is offer us ancillary support. So one of the things that we're interested in doing is making our marketing comms accessible. And what does that mean? And for whom is that? And so how do we do that? So we're getting input on that. There have been other, how do we create our advisory board as we start to take next steps and develop our business plan? So that lots of sort of professional input that we as a fledgling arts organization need support on. VASW has offered to support us on that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's been brilliant because not only have we kind of got the 5 chapters, 3 of them have happened already and 2 more underway. It is the kind of the extra support and actually the opportunity to meet so many people and get their advice and everything that's really, really been a help.
Thank you.
And for those of you that are here, the fellowship's open to a mix of single, like Graham mentioned before, Lucy Bedrock, who's a curator and consultant. So she's one person, and there's Artist Collective, but it doesn't mean it has to be either or. We're more interested in the proposals and the ideas. And obviously, as Graham said, and I mentioned as part of the objectives, it is to provide artists with that time and space and resources to develop important activity in the region and really recover from post-pandemic and get this dynamism and things going in the region. So hopefully all of you here have great ideas bubbling in the back that we're very excited to hear about.
Thank you all, Patricia, Kelly, Nicola, Simon. Hopefully that has given you all a bit of an idea about what these opportunities are, how you all could go about applying for them. We've got more info about the applications on the website as well. But for now, I will open this up to questions. I can see Stephen Dutton, you've got right on with the hands up. You're also welcome to use the chat function as well, Stephen.
Yeah, I'd rather just ask if you don't mind. The 3 really going to be straightforward questions actually, but before I get to the questions, I just want to say thanks very much to Bath Arts Depot for the recent events, which were just absolutely brilliant and really sent a bit of an energy lift, I think, through the areas. So it's working. It's great. Keep going. Yeah, the questions were just really simple. That Graham and Patricia, I'm sure you can answer these in 1 or 2 words. So the first is, I'm assuming that you can apply, a person can apply for both. Not that they expect to get both, but you could apply for the fellowship or the smaller award. Yeah.
Yes, you're welcome to apply for both. We would not be able to award one person opportunities, but
sure,
definitely feel free to apply.
Okay, that's understood. And then you cleared up the boundaries of the actual area in terms of the southwest. What about if somebody doesn't live and work, but only works or only lives in that area? How does that work?
Patricia, I will let you take this one, as the postcode boundaries have always stumped me occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, the Arts Council has invested in this West of England region. So obviously the preference would be someone live and work in the region, but we have considered them on an ad hoc basis, depending on where the public engagement also ends up, if it's for the region. So ideally, obviously, there would be someone applying from this postcode, but if they're from slightly further north in Gloucestershire, so I'm not talking London, I'm talking slightly outside the boundaries. It depends also where the public engagement then falls. So
where are the postcodes, Patricia? Where do we find the postcodes? Are they on the site?
So there's not a literal list of postcodes, partly as Patricia said, because for those just on the edges of those boundaries, there's potential for some flexibility.
Okay.
But if you Google local authority checker, there is a government website where you type in your postcode, it tells you who your local authority is. And that can be useful when checking things.
That's really helpful, thanks. And then one really super, again, it's probably online actually, I should have just been not so lazy and checked, but in terms of the video, the potential of recording a video application, is there a sense of how long that can be? I mean, I'm assuming there is, but I mean, what does that kind of look like?
I would say if I think I didn't put this online this time, which is on me, I should add that. The fellowships, I would anticipate that you shouldn't need to speak for longer than no, wait, wrong way around. The bursaries shouldn't need to speak for longer than 5 minutes. The fellowships, it is a slightly longer application. So I would anticipate sort of 6 or 7 minutes on that.
Okay.
And you will still need to submit a budget
Yeah.
with the application.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sorry, we had put it in the last application. It was 5 minutes and 7 minutes based on how many words, word count you can say in those times. But again, it's flexible. We're not going to not accept an application because it goes over the time.
3 hours if
Well, maybe not 3 hours.
Okay, thanks both. That's great. Thank you very much.
There's a question in the chat. Graham, you're on mute. Do you want to respond?
There we go. That doesn't help, does it? Thank you, Camille, for your question in the chat. I was wondering if the bursary opportunity could be used in combination with other funding for the same project. That one's very simple. Yes, Patricia, it can't be used as match funding for Arts Council, though, can it?
Exactly. Yes, if you have funding from somewhere else, yes, but not Arts Council, because obviously the Arts Council would already fund the project through this fellowship and through WEVAA. So you couldn't fundraise from the Arts Council in addition. Any other questions?
Can I actually ask another question in relation to that? Can the bursary funding be a follow-up on the R&D projects that we've done in the past? I mean, we've already completed, and then this will be a next step, for example. And is that possible if that first step was an Arts Council funding?
I would say if you can justify them as separate R&Ds, then absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Simon.
Yeah, sorry. Can I just ask a question? In a way, it sort of relates to our program a bit, but do we have to? How strict is the 12 months in terms of timescale? If one of our events was like, after 13 months, would that be acceptable, or should we try and contain it within the year?
There is very slight potential for some flexibility, but it would have to be on a case-by-case basis. And it's like it is difficult to say without understanding context, essentially.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not something that is a burning question. I can see a situation where that might become an issue, but we can think of different ways to resolve it.
Yeah, I mean, it's more for Graham to respond because he more closely manages the fellowships. But in terms of WEVAA in general, the ultimate condition is just the ending of the program funding, which is October 24. So we were trying to fit the 3 fellowships over 3 years in the years leading up to the end of the funding, because the condition is activity ends literally in that month then. So we didn't want activity to carry over because of the management also from BASBA, if they already have 3 fellowships going, that they have to manage and evaluate and then start new fellowships. But yes, there is flexibility from my perspective. I'm not managing them directly.
Yeah, the short version, the year 3 fellowships very unlikely to be able to be extended, and so if you're thinking you might need flexibility on that front, make sure to apply to this round.
Yeah.
Another question in the
Exactly.
chat from Sarah or Sarah, apologies, I don't know which. Would the fellowship potentially be open to applications from collaborations, particularly interdisciplinary collaboration to artists and a geologist? One partner within the geographical area, Bristol, and one or even two from wider Somerset and Gloucestershire. I would say that, I mean, as you can see, there are collaborations already happening within the fellowships. I would say that the Bristol partner in that case would have to be the lead applicant to ground that work within the area of the funding. Essentially, it's not necessarily that we would discount it based on the other partners being based elsewhere, but partly just so we can, in evaluation, demonstrate that this work had an impact on the West of England Visual Arts Alliance area. We would need to frame it through the lens of that Bristol-based partner in the collaboration. Does that sound right, Patricia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
that's really helpful. Thanks, Graham. The only problem I've got with this is that the Bristol partner is the geologist. so I'm based in Somerset, and my collaboration partner is based in Gloucestershire. And we often actually base our collaborative practice in Bristol. So we have been given galleries at the RWA to host little kind of mini residencies where we develop our practice, but we both come in from Gloucestershire and from Somerset, but the third party, who's the geologist, is actually the one who's based in Bristol. So it's sounding like we might be stretching your boundaries a little too far.
It is a challenging one to answer, I think, in the context of an info session. I should have your email from the Eventbrite booking, so it's possible that we will need to go away and think about this and sort of email you afterwards. I'm not sure it's impossible, but I would say certainly there would need to be a very clear demonstration within the application that the fellowship project lives and breathes in this region.
Okay, that's great. So if the majority of the actual activity was happening within Bristol, that would probably work quite well in terms of that kind of impact and sharing and things as well.
That would be, I think that would be the only context which we could consider it in. Sure. Certainly. I will go away and think about it. Potentially Patricia and I will swap a couple of emails, but I'll contact you soon as well, just with any further thoughts that come up.
That's great. Yeah, thanks, Graham. Thank you. I'll be honest, I was thinking, well, maybe this isn't going to work, but it's definitely worth conversation, I think. Would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any
more questions? I mean, the timeline is the 30th of November.
It's mid-November. The 14th is the close of applications.
14th, okay.
Yes. If you, if for any reason that seems unrealistic or like you couldn't make that application, I would definitely say to contact us before the deadline rather than afterwards. There is a small potential for some extenuating circumstances, extensions, but only if we know before the deadline, I'm afraid. As we've not had any further questions, I am going to say thank you to all of you for attending. Thank you to Patricia, Nicola, Kelly, Philip, for speaking up. I really hope to see applications from all of you in some form or another. And if you want to know more about West of England Visual Arts Alliance, you can go to the link that I'm about to drop in the chat. I imagine you're aware of it if you are here in the first place, but it is still worth letting you know. And the Spike Island and Visual Arts Southwest mailing lists are the best places to keep up to date with all things WEVAA and be the first to hear about all opportunities. Hopefully, whether it's seeing you as part of this process or you might come to some WEVAA events in the future, I hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.